What if I told you that the best episode of Dragon Ball Daima was because of the plot and not the fact that Goku finally went Super Saiyan and took a fight seriously? Because that's what just happened in episode 8 of Dragon Ball Daima Tamagami. Let's talk about it. All right, guys, Brent here back for Geek Variants. Cover all things Marvel, DC, Lord of the Rings, anime, gaming, Star Wars, and more. This time, Dragon Ball Daima, Episode 8, Tamagami. And we finally got to see Goku in action in all of his glory. And he finally took something seriously because, look, as much as we love Goku, we know he doesn't take anything in life seriously, whether it be his parental responsibilities, the food bill he causes, or the damage that happens to Earth. Unless it directly affects him, more or less, he doesn't usually care too much. He's just kind of fight, fight, fight. Let's go find a stronger opponent. That's it. He's a very one dimensional character, and as much as he's beloved in the anime community, at the same time, sometimes it makes for rather stale content because, look, we've had 7 episodes of Goku just being disrespectful to people and eating. That's basically all you've missed thus far up until we finally got to the Tamagami. And now that we're at the Tamagami, we finally had a good battle on our hands to at least observe and at least discuss. And the Tamagami, even though he was reportedly supposed to be stronger than Dabura, I think we're once again just taking Dabura out behind the shed for all intents and purposes because once again, Goku only went Super Saiyan 1. Super Saiyan 1. He was at Super Saiyan 3 when he was fighting Boo at his beginner initial stage. Are you serious right now? Because if Goku just had to go Super Saiyan 2 and Dabura would have been out, KO, game over, makes Mystic Gohan look extra bad by comparison, right? The power scaling is very, very much having a lot of issues, at least reassembling itself. And for all intents and purposes, it looks like Goku, even with just his Super Saiyan 1 as a child, is now stronger than what Dabura was supposed to be at peak. I'm sure a lot of people are going to continue to be on, wow, you're really hyping up this Dabura train. Dabura was a demon king. He was supposed to be the thing. He was supposed to be the guy. And then Boo, was this monstrosity that was uncontrollable and was complete danger. And we learned significantly more about Boo in this episode. But as Goku's fighting the Tamagami, of course, it was, the red extending pole versus the giant metal hammer, which again, I don't know what that pole's made of, but it defeated the hammer eventually once Goku decided to go serious and actually turn on Super Saiyan, literally cut the handle off the hammer and sent the hammer head off in the distance. Then he decides, it's time to get really serious, starts dodging some ki blasts being shot out from the Tamagami. And then, of course, it's the Kamehameha versus the biggest ki blast that Tamagami can send forth, ultimately ending in Goku getting the dub, only to find out that is battle 1. Luckily for Goku, he was able to lock in for battle number 2 because battle number 2 was, hey, if you've ever been to like any carnival games where people like will put something under a cup, they rearrange a bunch of cups, then you have to figure out which item is under the cup that has now been moved around like 80,000 times, like a Super Mario, like a Mario Party like video game style game. Goku astutely figures out that the Tamagami had yeeted the Dragon Ball all the way over in the distance and just was holding it floating over just a random demon's head just over in the distance who was just completely unaware that there was a Dragon Ball floating above your head. You think if there was a giant orb floating above your head, you would have noticed at least it descending in this general direction, been like, oh, what the heck? At least something. But completely unbeknownst to them, they were so enthralled in the cup game, missed all of that information. Goku astutely points out, and was like, hey, I saw you throw it all the way over there, and thus he was able to get the Dragon Ball. As Goku is celebrating his win, Glorio has been sending more and more concerning looks, and we finally figure out why. He is in this with Aransu, the evil doctor who has been working for King Goma, sort of, and is the sister of the Supreme Kai. She's the one who's been running this whole operation right in front of everyone's faces from behind the scenes. She understood that Goku was going to be able to capture the Dragon Balls so she can have her side plot continue to move forward so she's able to use the Dragon Balls to do what she needs to do because her plan is to become the Demon King. Is there nobody in this realm who does not want to be labeled as the title of Demon King? But again, with a title as cool as Demon King, I kind of get it. No judgment here, but we kind of figure out more about Aransu in this episode. King Goma also figured out she was there at the original fight where remember where Vegeta sacrificed himself, basically obliterated Majin Buu, only for Buu to put himself back together. Aransu was there. She picked up a piece of Buu, stored it in a jar, and fled. She was there in the original Dragon Ball, but obviously, for all intents and purposes, she wasn't a character that was initially thought of at the time, I would imagine, unless, we had Akira Toriyama pulling the biggest future sight ever and ultimately being able to kind of plan this out that intrinsically for this time period is insane. But Aransu bottled up a piece of Buu. She then decides to take the Buu to a witch called Marba. Marba apparently, and according to Aransu, is the one who created Majin Buu for King Bibidi. Not Babidi, the one that we're familiar with, Bibidi. Because if you remember the timeline, Bibidi originally was the master of Buu. Then Buu got sealed up. Babidi resurrects him, and thus we're familiar with Babidi and his works, only for Babidi to get, turned into chocolate and then eaten. So, for all intents and purposes, that plan was a total dud in only so many terms. And Marba is straight up astute about that. She's like, yep, Boo was, for all intents and purposes, a complete failure. He was uncontrollable. He just did what he wanted to do, and that was the main issue as to why he failed. Unfortunately, Marba is astute and is able to put this together and say, hey, Aransu, spit into this. It needs your saliva so that now you can, can sync up, my goodness, sync up mentally with this new creation of Majin, and you will be able to have a complete control over it, which, seems like a great power up until you realize, yeah, something with, a Majin Buu body, but an intellect of a demon witch queen for all intents and purposes, because she's well on her way there. She is one of the best witches in the entire realm of all three demon worlds, is going to be an absolute problem. Because luckily for us, Boo was just someone who just wanted to throw hands. He had nothing else to him. He literally just wanted to fight neat. He was Goku but pink. That was the only difference that we had going on here. And Boo was on the path that Goku should have been on if he hadn't hit his head, where he was like, the Earth needs to go boom. As where Goku says the Earth needs to stay. So they have to kind of figure out what's going on there. Glorio has been working for her this whole time. So she has one plan moving with Glorio, who I thought was super cool, but now turns out super wrong about that. As well as now she has this Boo plan to where she can have a Majin on her hands and try and take out Goma that way. If you're King Goma, no matter how you're looking at this, the fact that Tamagami has been defeated by Goku, already plan one, that's an issue. As well as the fact that now we have Aransu being out fully in the clear of having her own backstory plan, that is a problem. And the fact that Goku is still working for the third Demon King, technically, in all intrinsic purposes, yeah, that's kind of also another third back burner plan that he should be worried about, because Goku is still the strongest fighter that we're aware of. Even though he only went Super Saiyan 1, he still was able to defeat that Tamagami. I'm sure based upon the worlds and how things are laid out, the third Tamagami is the weakest, and the first world would be the strongest, just based upon an educated guess. But again, this has been a great episode as far as plot's concerned. The fighting, pretty good. We're getting back to the traditional Dragon Ball standard. Be sure to hit that lovely subscribe button if you've listened to me rant for the last 8.5 minutes. Clearly something in the content you like, as well as the fact that we have over 1,000 videos for you to choose from, as well as the currently ongoing Supermarket Simulator and Baldur's Gate 3 Honor Mode run on the channel. I've been Brent for Geek Variants. I'll see you guys in the next one.